Hello everybody, and yes, welcome to another hardware review of your host Potty Boy. And today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the retro port adapter for the Super Nintendo, which allows you to play NES games on your Super Nintendo.
Right, before we test it out, here is the cartridge in all its glory. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, it's a black cartridge, very much just the plain Super Nintendo cartridge. It's designed to fit all Super Nintendos, by the way. It's pretty much the same size, apart from being maybe a little bit shorter. Here's a Super Nintendo cartridge by comparison. As you can see, it's a little bit shorter. It's exactly the same width and depth and things, but it's a little bit shorter. There's a reason for it being a little bit shorter. You probably sort of worked out why if you've ever seen a NES cartridge before. They're freaking huge. Huge, and in fact, when you plug this into the thing, it looks a bit unwieldy. Anyway, so pretty much standard fare, really. Nothing special to look at. You've got your connectors on the top there, obviously, where you shove your games in. There's the nice stick on there, retro port adapter. Play your NES games on your SNES, of course. And then you turn around on the back. There's all the usual stickers and gubbins, made in China, and retro port adapter, and distributed by Retrobit. Right, so nothing special until we come to this side. You may notice that it's got its own little AV output, as mentioned by the sign here. Now, the reason why it's got its own AV output is because the Super Nintendo obviously doesn't have the guts inside it to produce the graphics, so all the video output is handled by this cartridge, which is a bit of a knob, really, because obviously it means it's got its own input, obviously, so you have to swap cables round and things, so you can't just use your SNES's input. So this also means that obviously you can't use any of your video modifications that you've done to your SNES, like if you've got things like HDMI output or RGB SCART. You can't use those. Nope, you are stuck with components for this device. And of course it's non-standard. This is the only cable you get as well, so try not to lose it. So it's a bit of a knob, unfortunately, and the camera's gone a bit blurry, isn't it? I need to focus. You're not going to focus, are you? Oh well, no, you're. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, it's gone blurry again. Oh dear. The auto adjust on the camera isn't particularly all that great. I'm actually using my phone, by the way, because I do actually have a proper camera, but unfortunately it's an old 2004 Sony model thing. It only takes standard definition video and things, so and I don't use it that often anyway, so I'm mostly just happy to use my phone to record. Anyway, I've gone off a tangent, haven't I? So that is the AV. So anyway, so it's got its own AV out. It's stuck with the component, and of course it has to have its own input. So that's a bit of a bummer. Another bummer as well is the thing is this does output 60 hertz video, but only 60 hertz. Now you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? Well, the problem is when running PAL games, you see, because this thing is region free, but because it only outputs 60 hertz, a lot of your PAL games are going to run a bit fast. The reason being is because some PAL games were actually fixed to basically run at roughly the same speed as the NTSC versions, because obviously the whole 50-60 hertz thing. So you might find that you're plugging a PAL game and the game might run in fast forward. I think a typical example of this is Super Mario Bros. 3. So anyway, that is the retro port. I think you pretty much got the idea of how it works, but nevertheless, let's go and see it in action, shall we? Right, so here it is, all lovely and set up and things. Obviously, it's all plugged in. SNES is plugged in. The television is actually on. So anyway, right, so let's plug in our first game. Right, I've got a whole bundle of games here with me. So the first one I'm going to try is a classic NES game everyone knows and loves. We have Super Mario Brothers. I've actually got two copies of this game. One's a standard. I've got the standalone copy here and a copy with Duck Hunt. I'm going to be playing both just to show you Let's basically compare the differences between the two cartridges, and also how it handles power fixed games. So anyway, let's plug this bad boy in. There we go. And now let's switch it on. And we look up, and here we go. There is Super Mario Brothers. This is the picture size. Let's go to 4:3. There we go. You probably might not see it too well on the camera there, but as you can see, it's but you can at least still see that it's up and running. So anyway, let's grab the Super Nintendo controller. Here it is. I've got this. There's my Super Nintendo pad. I'll unravel it a bit. Right. So there we go. Okay, let's go. On play a game. Make sure the volume's right. Let's turn it up a bit. Hopefully you can hear that alright. And there we go. Super Mario Brothers running on a Super Nintendo. So, okay, let's hit that. And grab the mushroom. And wait for the blocks go on. So yeah, I think you basically get the idea. It's Super Mario Brothers running on a NES, the NES version running on a Super Nintendo. And there we go. So anyway, that is Super Mario Brothers running on the Super Nintendo. So let's switch that off. Right, now let's unplug this cartridge. Right, now I'm going to put on this one, Super Mario Brothers with Duck Hunt, and I'll show you the differences. So let's put it in. This is how it handles power games that are fixed. There you got Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Super Mario Brothers. Now you may think, oh, it looks all the same, but let's press start, and here we go. Yeah, notice the problem, if you can hear it, that is. The sound is not only running high pitched, it's running too fast. So yeah, so unfortunately we have a bit of an issue here. But nevertheless, the game is still playable. It can still be played. It's just unfortunate that you have to play it in fast forward. So anyway, that is Super Mario Brothers, the Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers cartridge. Yeah, so as you can imagine, yeah, that's a bit of an issue, unfortunately. So right, let's unplug this, and there we go. So yes, unfortunately, it does have a bit of problem playing certain PAL games, which is a bit of a shame. But now you're probably thinking, what about unlicensed cartridges? What about, yeah, maybe perhaps one of those Codemasters games or any of those unlicensed Tengen games? Will it play those? The thing is, yes, it will. Well, I've got an unlicensed cartridge here. This cartridge is a bit temperamental though, so I might not be able to get this working, but I have got this working on here. And but yeah, it does come to show you that this retro port will play unlicensed cartridges. So let's just give it a go. I might need to give it a clean, but yeah, blue screen. No. Let's give it a good blow. Like that. No. Sometimes you have to press, oh, there we go. Yeah, sometimes you have to press reset a few times. So anyway, so yeah, this is the unlicensed. This is an unlicensed cartridge from Codemasters, Quattro Sports. Which one's a good one to try first? Let's try BMX Simulator. Codemasters, absolutely brilliant. BMX Simulator is up and running fine. Press start. Let's do dirt biking. And here we go. Now, the one thing I haven't explained is what are the controls. Controls, well, simple really. A is the A button and B is the B button. So yeah, yeah, you get used to it quite easily. I think obviously some people would prefer to have the Y button as the B button and B is the A. In fact, I think when Nintendo originally designed the designed the Super Nintendo to have NES backwards compatibility, I think that was the control method that they were going for. But for the retro port, they decided to just go with A for A and B for B. So, but nevertheless, it does work, and you get used to it quite easily. Actually, I find it's quite comfortable. I don't mind using the A button a lot. So anyway, that is BMX Simulator up and running. As you can see, it's all fully working. In fact, yeah, the cartridge does work. So the retro port will play unlicensed cartridges. Now, that's not to say, unfortunately, that it will play every single game. Obviously, the problems with this retro port isn't just limited to playing power games too quickly. There are unfortunately some games which won't work at all, and there are some games which will run, but will run with glitches. For example, I've got another game here. Now, obviously, if you've been watching my pickups videos and stuff, you might not come across this one yet. I've only recently picked this one up, but I'll be mentioning it in the next pickups video. That is Cobra Triangle. I picked this one up. It was quite cheap, so I picked it up. It's a game by Rare, actually. So it's one of the reasons why I wanted to get it. But this is an example of a game which will run and it's playable, but it has glitches. So let's get it up and running. Yeah, Cobra Triangle. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, it looks fine and dandy at the moment, but press start. There's your title screen. But as you can see, there's glitching, unfortunately. So anyway, but nevertheless, we can start the game. Press start to play. It's not the only issue of this, unfortunately. There are, obviously, you can see some glitches. In particular, when there's a lot of sprites on the screen over this game, you'll notice that the screen will start to flicker really, really badly, like that. But it's only when there's a lot of sprites on the screen. The game itself is actually quite playable. I haven't actually obviously played this way all the way to the end, so I don't know if it crashes at the end or anything like that, but I do know it's got problems when you have a lot of sprites on the screen. So yeah, it does slow down. It's still quite playable, but it's very distracting, as you can see. So nevertheless, let's do the first level. So it's a bit of a shame, really. So yeah, there are little issues. Let's make it all the way through to the end without being hit or anything like that. Quite an interesting game, this one. There we go. Next stage. Yeah, quite like I say, quite a fun little game, this one. I'm gonna have to do a full review on this one at some point. Okay, yeah, this one this one's quite tricky if I remember rightly. Oh Christ. Basically, right, you gotta get the mines here and things, yeah. But anyway, that's enough of that. I'm not here to obviously review the game. I'm here to do review the retro port. And well, here you go. This is the retro port up and running. Obviously, like I said, obviously it won't run absolutely every game perfectly. Likewise, there are some games which don't run at all. But nevertheless, it'll play most games. I think about 70%. So anyway, so that is the retro port.
And that, my friends, is my review of the retro port adapter for the Super Nintendo, which of course allows you to play NES games on your Super Nintendo. Now, so what are my final thoughts on this? The pros are it's a very, very handy device to have. It's quite cheap as well, and in my opinion, it's a very good way if you're basically looking into getting NES games as well. If you're looking to start to collect them for the NES, but you don't have the money to afford to buy a real NES or a Retron 5 or something like that, or one of the more expensive clones, shall I say? This is a good way to start it off. This device here is quite inexpensive. It's only cost me like £16.75. So it's not that expensive. The build quality is very good. Compatibility is reasonable. Like I said, it works with about 70% of games. There are a few games which obviously rather run with a few glitches. Some power games might run a bit quick, and there are a few games which won't run on this at all. But likewise, there's nothing major. It's just a case of, hey, you can play your NES games on it, and the majority of them will actually be playable. Um, downsides, obviously, this one is obviously having its own AV output as well, which is a bit of an arse, really. But there's one downside I forgot to mention as well, is that because it relies on your Super Nintendo for controller input, you can't obviously plug in your old your old NES controllers and adapters and other accessories. So you can't obviously plug in a real NES controller. You can't plug in the Zapper light gun to play Duck Hunt or anything like that. You can't even use the Power Glove, because obviously the ports on the NES are different to the Super Nintendo ones. You can, of course, use certain Super Nintendo accessories. You can, for example, use the Super Advantage joystick instead of the NES Advantage if you really wanted to. So so it's not all doom and gloom. But yeah, so overall, yeah, really nice little system. Quite happy with this one. Obviously, aside from a few minor niggles. Is it really worth getting one? If, say, for example, you've already got a NES or something like that. Well, if you've already got a NES and it's fully working, or you've got, say, something like a Vectron 5 or yeah, really, really good sort of like family clone is what they usually say. So then you don't really need one of these. I mean, it is just basically just another NES system in a cartridge. But if, on the other hand, if you're like me, you got Super Nintendo and you're looking into start getting NES games, then this is a nice little cheap way of starting off your collection. Likewise, I only paid about £16.75 for this, so that's one plus side. It's very inexpensive. So anyway, that is. I hope you enjoyed my video of the retro port. I shall be back again soon with another video, and in the meantime, goodbye for now.